What up, snitches? I'm the Animaniac, and at last we're out of Disney's first abysmal period of the 1940s and into the 1950s with Cinderella. Directed by Clyde Jeroniimi, Hamilton Luske, and Wilfred Jackson, and based on the classic fairy tale of the same name by Charles Perrault, about a girl who works hard but is hardly rewarded for it, given a night of magic when a fairy godmother grants her wish to go to a royal ball. Production of this film goes back to 1922, when Walt Disney made a laugh-o-gram of the story. 10 years later, he wanted to make it into a Silly Symphonies cartoon, but the source material proved to be too much for a 7-minute cartoon, so it was suggested to turn the story into a feature film in 1938. Since 1943, there have been several rewrites, changing directors, struggles to keep production going because Disney were nearly $5 million in debt to the bank, Disney becoming less involved, leaving Jeroniimi, Luske, and Jackson to make the movie their way while he's occupied with the production of Treasure Island. When he finally reviewed the footage, he ordered changes to it, including an overhaul of the climax. They finished the film in 1949 in time for a 1950 release, where it was considered Disney's biggest box office smash since Snow White, raking in $532 million in its lifetime, including its initial run and the re-releases between 1957 and 1987, and adjusting for inflation. The success of this film allowed the company to go into other business ventures, like theme parks and television. It was also a critical success, with people praising the studio's return to making movies based on fairy tales. The movie looked great, but critics took issue with the title character's personality and role in the film. We'll get to her later. Cinderella was also nominated for 3 Oscars the following year, was featured in several lists made by the American Film Institution in 2008, and currently holds a Rotten Tomatoes critical score of 97%. So how does Cinderella hold up in 2020? Well, unlike Snow White and Pinocchio, where some characters were rotoscoped actors on a soundstage, they used the actors performing the scene while mouthing the dialogue playback as a cost-effective way to check the animation, most predominantly for Cinderella and Lady Tremaine. See, once the footage was shot, they edit them down and have them copied on photostat sheets. Despite the animators' protest to this method, the results seem to be just as good as their early 40s predecessors, discounting the shots where Cinderella looks creepy. Ugh. The backgrounds are of the same quality too. When we're inside the home, it looks good. Normal, but good. But when we get to the royal ball and Cinderella and Prince Charming are together, the backgrounds look more like they're from a storybook. In the sequence where the head mouse partakes in a chase with Lucifer, distracting him while the others escape to grab food, isn't as entertaining compared to a Tom and Jerry cartoon because of Disney's smooth and graceful animation not helping the slapstick during the sequence. A scene that fares a little better is the one where the king is chasing the Grand Duke, trying to kill him because one of the prince's dates ran out on him. Cinderella's stepmother, Lady Tremaine, who took over the house when her dad died and shoved her into being a servant in her own house, yet when we see her during the film, she's able to manipulate others without doing a whole lot. Like when the mice tailored Cinderella's dress using accessories the ugly stepsisters threw out. Tremaine was able to get her daughters to destroy it just by complimenting the pearls around her neck. Just in case I didn't think the stepsisters weren't obnoxious enough, the sequence that ensues is very hard to watch. When they're done and leave for the ball, I was sitting there hating Lady Tremaine and her daughters for what they did, and feeling like I'm in the same pit of despair Cinderella was in. In other words, these 3 do their job in the film. Now, regarding the criticism towards Cinderella, it does seem like she takes a lot of abuse and does nothing to get out of her situation. Yet while she's in it, she keeps her chin up and is always nice to those around her. Especially the mice she finds scurrying around the house who, during the film, repay her kindness by modifying her dress for the ball because she's too busy to mend it herself, and freeing her from her room when Lady Tremaine locks her in. During such a sequence, the tension does deflate because of how slowly the mice fought to free Cinderella. while the sisters try and trick the Grand Duke into thinking they're the ones the prince was looking for. With everything that happened on the mice's end, the Grand Duke should have been out the door long before Cinderella was freed. Aside from that, the mice, though not very funny, are very serviceable, even if the movie does bend time to make sure there's a happy ending for our heroine. Cinderella isn't as emotionally powerful as Disney's work from the early 40s, but it proved to still be a gay old time. Guys, how have you been enjoying this marathon so far? This has been a somewhat interesting ride for me. Comment below what you thought of Cinderella. If you guys want to stay updated on future videos and see some cool artwork, be sure to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, and DeviantArt, and be sure to subscribe to my backup channel over on BitChute. The links are in the description, and if you want to be the first to know when a new video will be up, ring that bell after you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.